Welcome back to Dark Dive, the strange, hidden, and untold. I'm Kevin, your host.
And I'm Vera, the other host. And I'm already feeling a chill just from the title of today's episode, to be honest with you, Kevin.
Oh, you should be. You absolutely should be, Vera. Today we're really diving deep, as our name suggests, into one of the most unsettling, truly bizarre, and frankly, morally bankrupt chapters in, modern history. We're talking about Project MK Ultra.
MK Ultra. I mean, just the name itself sounds like something out of a spy thriller, right? But this is real? This isn't fiction?
Oh, it's very real. And if you've heard whispers of it before, you probably know it involves, the CIA and attempts to control the human mind. Think about that for a second. Controlling the human mind.
I'm already trying not to picture myself in a tinfoil hat, but that's a tough one. So, we're talking about a clandestine program.
Yeah, super clandestine. This was a program that was active from the 1950s through the early 1970s. Essentially, a systematic attempt to develop chemical and psychological methods of controlling human behavior. It's pretty wild.
Wow. Okay. So, it's not just a conspiracy theory then. This is like actual documented history that the CIA tried to weaponize thoughts? This is going to be a wild ride, isn't it?
It is. It absolutely is. And trust me, when you hear the details, your jaw is probably going to be on the floor. It's a doozy. So, buckle up, dark divers. This one's going to be a trip. All right, let's just jump right into the shadow, shall we? Project MK Ultra. It began, believe it or not, in the depths of the Cold War. You know, back when America was like grappling with this perceived threat of Soviet mind control techniques. It sounds like something out of a bad B movie, right?
No, it sounds like a very real fear, though, at the time, given the Cold War paranoia, but mind control? I mean, that's a leap.
Well, the CIA made that leap. They embarked on what is now considered one of the most ethically reprehensible programs in US government history. MK Ultra, active from the 1950s all the way through the early 1970s, was essentially a systematic attempt to develop chemical and psychological methods of controlling human behavior.
Chemical and psychological methods? So, like, they weren't just, trying to convince people, they were actively messing with brains? Oh, wow.
Oh, absolutely. What started Vera as a supposed defensive response to fears of communist brainwashing spiraled into this sprawling network of experiments. I mean, it violated fundamental human rights and medical ethics on an unprecedented scale.
Unprecedented scale. Okay, I knew it was bad, but you're saying this was like a full blown program that was like deeply embedded and not just some rogue agent?
Oh, no, no, no. This was very much a program. Its very existence remained hidden in the shadows of government secrecy until congressional investigations in the 1970s forced its dark revelations into public view.
And that's how we even know about it now because it was like forced into the light. That's that's chilling.
Exactly. And even today, decades after its official termination, the full scope of MK Ultra's horrors, it continues to emerge through declassified documents and survivor testimonies. It just paints this really disturbing portrait of a government agency that, frankly, just lost its moral compass in pursuit of what they saw as the ultimate weapon, the human mind itself.
The human mind itself is a weapon. That is that's terrifying. Like you're not fighting a physical war, you're fighting for people's minds. Wow. I mean, this is already way more intense than I thought.
Yeah, it's truly unsettling. And speaking of scope, recent declassifications have actually revealed the staggering, and I mean staggering scope of MK Ultra operations.
How how big are we talking here? Like was it just a few isolated incidents?
Oh no, no, Vera. The National Security Archive's new collection alone brings together over 1,200 essential records, documents that experts describe as one of the most infamous and abusive programs in CIA history.
Wow. Okay, 1,200 documents. That's not just a few people messing around.
Exactly. And it was all led by a chemist named Sidney Gottlieb. Journalists actually dubbed him the CIA's poisoner in chief.
The poisoner in chief. Oh my god, that sounds like a supervillain name.
It does, right? And it's for good reason. The program, by the way, encompassed at least 149 documented subprojects, spanning universities, hospitals, and research institutions across North America. So this wasn't just in some dark basement.
Hospitals and universities. So, like, legitimate institutions were involved in this? That's that's just wild.
Oh, yeah. Gottlieb, this poisoner in chief, worked throughout the 50s and early 60s, specifically to develop mind control drugs and deadly toxins, the kind that could be deployed against enemies, or so they thought. His whole thing was treating the human psyche, Vera, as a battlefield to be conquered through chemical manipulation.
So he wasn't just developing things, he was like actively weaponizing chemicals to mess with people's minds. I mean, that's truly diabolical.
Yeah, well, his arsenal extended far beyond its most notorious tool, which most people think of when they hear MKUltra, LSD. Declassified documents reveal experiments with this chilling array of substances. We're talking mescaline, psilocybin, scopolamine, alcohol, sodium pentothal, barbiturates, even methamphetamine.
Wait. Methamphetamine? They were giving people meth as part of this mind control experiment? And, like, alcohol? Like, what was the goal there?
Well, these drugs were administered to subjects often, and this is the really messed up part, often without their knowledge or consent, turning unsuspecting individuals into unwitting test subjects in a vast pharmaceutical experiment. Can you even imagine?
Without their knowledge or consent. So, basically, people were just minding their own business. And then the government decided to drug them. That's that's just so unethical. It's beyond unethical.
It is. And the CIA's fascination with LSD in particular was incredibly intense. They had agents dosing soldiers, prisoners, and even civilians with acid, trying to understand how the drug could be used to break down psychological resistance and extract information. They literally saw LSD's unpredictable effects and potential for causing permanent psychological damage as an ideal weapon.
An ideal weapon. So, the more unpredictable and damaging, the better in their eyes. That's so twisted. They thought that was a chemical key to unlock the secrets of the human mind? Ugh.
Yeah, a chemical key that could just unlock the secrets of the human mind. It's a profound violation of, well, everything. And nowhere, perhaps, were MK Ultra's horrors more systematically documented than in Montreal.
Montreal? Like in Canada? So, this wasn't just a US thing, huh?
Nope. It was at the Allan Memorial Institute. And these experiments were led by a guy named Dr. Donald Ewan Cameron. He commuted weekly from Albany, New York, by the way, to do this.
Wow. So he was really dedicated to this dark cause. What exactly was he doing up there?
Well, he was running his infamous psychic driving experiments. He got like $69,000 from 1957 to 1964 for this, which today would be over $766,000. He was specifically targeting vulnerable psychiatric patients.
Psychic driving? That sounds less like therapy and more like, well, mind control. And on vulnerable patients? That's just taking advantage.
Exactly. And his methods, oh, they were particularly brutal. Patients were subjected to massive doses of LSD, for example. I mean, huge amounts. Then they were forced into drug induced comas that lasted for weeks. Weeks, Vera. And subjected to repeated electroshock treatments.
Oh my god. Weeks in a coma with electroshock? That sounds like something out of a horror movie. Like, what was the actual goal of that? To, like, reset their brains or something?
Pretty much. His depatterning technique, as he called it, aimed to completely erase existing memories and personality structures. So basically, wipe the slate clean. And then the psychic driving involved playing recorded messages to unconscious patients for hours, even days, on end. Like just constant looping messages.
So he was trying to brainwash them while they were in a coma? That's, I can't even process how horrific that is. It's like they were trying to turn people into blank slates to write whatever they wanted on.
Precisely. And the human cost was devastating. There's one particular victim, a young woman named Lana Ponting. She was just 16 years old when she was given LSD and methamphetamine in 1958 as part of these experiments. 16.
16? Oh my gosh, a child. They were experimenting on children with LSD and meth? That is just, it's beyond comprehension. That poor girl.
Yeah, and over 300 people applied for compensation from the Canadian government in 1992, although the actual number of victims is still unknown. Many subjects experienced permanent memory loss, severe psychological trauma, and the complete destruction of their previous identities.
Permanent memory loss and their identities completely destroyed. So it's like their entire past, their entire sense of self just gone. It's not just physical harm, it's soul crushing. How do you even recover from something like that? I mean, you don't.
They don't. It's truly soul-crushing. And then Vera, perhaps the most damning aspect of MKUltra, was the systematic destruction of evidence.
Oh no, of course. So they just like tried to make it all disappear.
Exactly. In 1973, as congressional investigations were starting to close in, the then CIA director, a guy named Richard Helms, he just ordered the destruction of most MKUltra files.
So they knew what they were doing was wrong and they tried to cover their tracks. That's that's just so infuriating. How much was destroyed?
Most of it. This deliberate act of evidence destruction has made it impossible, absolutely impossible, to fully document the program's true scope. And it has, denied justice to countless victims whose stories may never ever be fully known.
So we don't even know the full extent of the horror. That's that's just a black hole of information. It's like they erased not just the victims' minds, but the proof of their existence too.
Pretty much. The documents that did survive this purge were often fragmentary. They were discovered years later, misfiled, or just preserved by accident. What remains gives us only glimpses into a program whose full extent we may, frankly, never know.
That's so unsettling. It means there could be even more horrifying details out there that we don't know about.
Yeah, it truly does. And, this brings up some really uncomfortable questions about the program itself. Like, one of the most persistent questions is about its actual effectiveness.
Oh, like did any of this even work? Did they actually achieve mind control? Or was it just torture for torture's sake?
Well, despite decades of research and millions of dollars in funding, there's actually very little evidence that the program achieved its stated goals of developing reliable mind control techniques. The CIA's own internal assessments, where they survived, often describe disappointing results and unpredictable outcomes.
So, all that suffering, all that horror for nothing? That's almost worse. Like, it was pointless.
It truly makes you wonder, doesn't it? Like, what was the true purpose? Were these experiments genuinely intended to develop operational capabilities? Or was it, something else entirely? Was it just a form of institutionalized sadism dressed up in the language of national security?
Xiao. Institutionalized sadism. That's a pretty heavy accusation, but if it didn't work, and they kept doing it, and they were destroying evidence, it's hard to argue against that, actually.
It is. The gap between the program's ambitious goals and its documented failures suggests that the human suffering it caused may have been entirely without purpose. And it wasn't just the CIA, Vera. The breadth of MK Ultra's operations required the complicity of numerous institutions and individuals beyond the CIA itself.
Wait, so it wasn't just like rogue agents? Other places were involved?
Oh, yeah. Universities like McGill, Harvard, and Stanford, hospitals and psychiatric institutions, private contractors and individual researchers, they all participated in or facilitated these experiments.
Universities and hospitals, the very places that are supposed to be about healing and knowledge, were involved in this. That's a massive betrayal of public trust. How did they justify that?
It raises really difficult questions about the extent to which American and Canadian institutions were willing to compromise their ethical standards in the name of national security. Some researchers argue that the program's decentralized nature was actually deliberately designed to obscure responsibility and make it harder to hold specific individuals accountable.
So, it was designed to be untraceable, like a spider web, so no one person could be blamed. That's that's really devious.
Yeah. And others contend that the Cold War context created such a climate of fear that such compromises just seemed justified at the time. You know, we have to fight communism, so anything goes.
It's almost like they were saying the ends justify the means, no matter how horrific the means were. It's a slippery slope.
A very slippery slope. And the truth probably lies somewhere between those positions. But the exact nature of institutional complicity, it really remains a subject of debate, even today. And then there's the question of the victims themselves.
Oh God. Yeah. Who did they target? It sounds like it was the most vulnerable.
You got it. The victims of MKUltra were disproportionately drawn from vulnerable populations: psychiatric patients, prisoners, military personnel, and just, others with limited ability to refuse or resist.
So, people who couldn't fight back, who were already like marginalized or locked away, that's not science. That's just predatory.
It's absolutely predatory. This pattern raises questions about whether the program was designed not just to develop mind control techniques, but to actually target those whom society deemed, well, expendable.
Expendable. Like they were just laboratory rats. That's it's chilling to think about a government viewing its own citizens or anyone as expendable.
It really is. And the choice of victims also reflects broader patterns of medical experimentation on marginalized communities throughout American history. Understanding MK Ultra, frankly, requires placing it within this larger context of medical abuse and exploitation, recognizing that the program's horrors weren't aberrations, but extensions of existing systems of power and control.
So it wasn't just a one off bad apple situation. It was part of a larger systemic problem that was already there. Like it was just MK Ultra was just the most extreme version of it. That's a really dark thought.
Yeah, it truly is. And this whole nightmare, Vera, the legacy of MK Ultra, it continues to unfold in courtrooms across North America, even today.
So there are still like legal battles happening for this after all these years.
Absolutely. In fact, in 2022, families of the Montreal experiment victims, remember Dr. Cameron's experiments? They actually received approval for a class action lawsuit seeking approximately $1 million per family in compensation.
Oh, wow. That's that's something. At least they're getting some recognition, some sort of justice maybe.
Well, maybe. But legal challenges continue. Various government entities and institutions are still seeking to dismiss these claims. And here's the kicker: the U.S. government has successfully argued for immunity in Canadian courts.
Immunity? They just get to walk away? So what? The American institutions aren't held accountable for what they did in Canada. That's insane.
It complicates efforts to hold American institutions accountable for their role in the experiments, yeah. And meanwhile, some victims have never received any compensation, despite documented evidence of their suffering. Like Lana Ponting, remember her? The 16-year-old girl who was given LSD and methamphetamine?
Oh my god, yes, the poor girl. Is she still alive?
She is. She's now living in Winnipeg, and she has never been financially compensated for her experience as a teenage test subject.
That's just it's a profound injustice to go through something like that at that age and then to get nothing. It's just so wrong.
These ongoing legal battles, they really reflect the persistent challenge of achieving justice for historical atrocities. The passage of time hasn't diminished the trauma experienced by victims and their families, but it has, complicated efforts to hold responsible parties accountable. And that destruction of evidence that Helms ordered, it continues to handicap legal proceedings.
So they covered their tracks so well that even now it's hard to get justice because the proof isn't there. It's like they won twice.
It's a dark thought, isn't it? Which brings us to, perhaps, the most lingering question of all: what haven't we learned? As we examine these documented horrors of Project MKUltra, one question just towers above all others. What remains hidden?
Oh, God. Yeah, that's the scariest part. If they destroyed so much, what else is out there that we don't know about?
The systematic destruction of evidence in 1973 ensures that the full scope of the program may never be known. The documents that survived, they represent only a fraction of what once existed, leaving just enormous gaps in our understanding of who was involved, what was done, and how many people suffered.
It's like a puzzle with most of the pieces missing. You can see the outline, but the full picture is just gone.
Yeah, but actually, recent declassifications continue to reveal new details about the program, suggesting that significant information remains buried in government archives. The National Security Archive's new collection, which, has over 1,200 documents, represents the latest tranche of revelations. But experts believe much more remains classified or just, destroyed.
So we're still finding things out, even now? That's wild. But it also means there's probably a lot more still hidden.
Each new disclosure raises fresh questions about the extent of government knowledge and complicity. And perhaps most troubling, Vera, is the question of whether such programs continue in different forms.
Oh, Kevin, don't say that. You mean like similar mind control or psychological manipulation experiments are still going on somewhere?
The techniques developed through MKUltra, you know, psychological manipulation, chemical enhancement of interrogation, the systematic study of human vulnerability, they didn't just disappear with the program's official termination. Modern debates about enhanced interrogation, psychological operations, and the use of technology for behavioral modification, they all echo the fundamental questions raised by MKUltra. Like, how far is too far in the pursuit of national security objectives?
That's that's a chilling thought, especially with all the new technology like AI and stuff. The potential for misuse is just terrifying.
It truly is. The victims of MKUltra, many of whom are now elderly or deceased, they continue to seek recognition and justice for what was done to them. Their stories serve as such a stark reminder that the price of unchecked government power is measured not in abstract principles, but in human lives, destroyed by those who claim to protect them.
It's a heavy, heavy legacy. And it makes you wonder about how many other things are hidden away, you know?
As we continue to uncover the full truth about Project MKUltra, we're forced to confront an uncomfortable reality. In their zeal to control the minds of America's enemies, the CIA just lost control of its own moral compass, leaving a trail of broken lives and unanswered questions that persist to this day.
So they became what they were trying to fight against, in a way, or at least they used the same tactics they feared.
Exactly. The most haunting aspect of MKUltra may be its revelation of how easily ordinary people and institutions can be transformed into instruments of systematic cruelty when operating under the banner of national security. The program's legacy serves as a warning about the dangers of unchecked government power and the importance of maintaining ethical boundaries, even in times of perceived existential threat.
It's a terrifying, cautionary tale. It really makes you question everything.
It truly does, Vera. And that's kind of the unsettling question we're left with, isn't it? What other secrets lie buried in the archives of our institutions, just waiting to be discovered by future generations who will judge us, you know? as we now judge those who unleashed the horrors of MK Ultra upon the world.
Yeah, that's a question that's going to stick with me for a while, I think. It's just so much to unpack and it's all so dark.
It is. And as we wrap up today's dark dive, I think the profound and disturbing lessons from Project MK Ultra are pretty clear. It just underscores how absolutely critical ethical boundaries and accountability are, especially when dealing with such immense power.
Absolutely. It's a stark reminder that even in the name of national security, there are lines that just should never be crossed. And the human cost of crossing those lines, it's just immeasurable.
Couldn't agree more. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep, deep dive into Project MK Ultra.
Yeah, thanks for taking this journey with us. It's always a lot to process, but it's so important to know these stories.
It really is. So, until next time, keep questioning, keep digging, and keep your eyes peeled for those hidden truths.
We're just getting started. Hit subscribe and keep digging with us into the strange, the hidden, and the untold.